just to let you know, citizens, I'm so proud of you. We will defend for ourselves. We'll bring resolutions for ourselves. We will do whatever is necessary to do. If others don't do it, we will. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Pontiac. We have spoken.
Thank you, Mr. Maxey. Any other elected official wish to speak? All right, moving on. Agenda address.
None.
Okay, thank you. Special presentation from Auch. No subject matter?
Well,
I think we know what they're here for.
there is subject matter. I can present that.
No, they can go ahead and present it. I'm just,
Okay, because the complete title was not put on the agenda the way we asked. But Auch is here to present today as owner's representative in terms of the visioning that they're doing about the Phoenix Center, to give us an update and to give people an idea of what work needs to be done, needs to be started, as well as what has been done to be able to keep this conversation going so we can decide and council can have that conversation about the funding for the Phoenix Center renovations needed to be done.
We're going to give you
And this
15
is Vince DeLarnardis from Auch, who is our owner's representative for this project.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and then thank you very much, City Council, for allowing us to present the visioning program for the Phoenix Center.
give me a second, let me
Let's take a
conflicting.
We're giving you 15 minutes, sir.
Give them
Oh,
15.
there you go.
Thank you very much. But thank you very much for allowing us to present. We've had the opportunity to host several meetings to talk about the visioning, get the input from the community leaders, and our architectural partner, HED, has put together a presentation that captured the comments that were made by the leaders of the city. And so with that, we'll turn it over to Jack.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. We're very excited to be here for what is truly a unique project. I don't think you realize how unique a setting that the Phoenix Center is, but we're excited to be involved in kind of this visioning effort. My assistant Vince will advance the slides for me. Vince, next one. So we heard a lot of things in those visioning sessions, but probably more than anything, this project wanted to be a catalyst for future kind of development, be really the spark. So what you're about to see isn't kind of an end vision. It is a vision of what it needs to become to kind of ignite future development. So that was kind of the mission of this. And we heard it should involve a wide variety of stakeholders, from families, the community, a very diverse kind of collection of stakeholders, that it needed to be accessible and connected. Obviously, the upper level presents some challenges, and as much as anything, it wants to be a very safe environment. So, as some of you know, there's been quite a bit of studies. We did review those past studies of the Phoenix Center. One of the ones that kind of jumped out at us was kind of the relationship of the Phoenix Center to downtown and primarily Saginaw Street, which past studies identified as kind of the richest pedestrian experience within the city. So the Phoenix Center has this great relationship with Saginaw Street. Also, those futuring kind of visioning studies that had been done looked at how it would morph into more robust development in and around the Phoenix Center. Again, we won't be showing this, but definitely what we do show doesn't kind of get in the way of this kind of development happening. So we're very aware of what we put in place needed to be flexible and needed to be able to morph into more robust development. So again, looking from the air, again, what is kind of some of the primary kind of features that we leveraged. The obvious one is the big tensile structure, but the idea of this kind of huge, large, flat, safe kind of platform in close proximity to a pedestrian-oriented downtown is truly unique. You just don't find this situation in a lot of cities. We looked at a lot of precedents, this one being Pike Street Market in Seattle that, believe it or not, started from nothing and through a grassroots movement, again, a very diverse collection of stakeholders become this kind of really dynamic success. And so kind of the programming component was the idea of, again, this very diverse collection of stakeholders who benefit by the presence of other stakeholders, ranging from culture, education, technology, the industries in and around Pontiac, art, music, family. So again, the idea is not kind of either or, it's kind of a both and in terms of program. So the concept you're going to see was very much all about kind of being both inventive, and if you drop down to the bottom one, kind of the idea of just enough money. We were very conscious of trying to be very creative, spend just enough to create that catalyst for this thing to grow into something much bigger than itself. So and you'll see kind of the idea of movement, excitement, lightweight structures, flexibility, obviously, and for this thing to be able to grow incrementally. It doesn't all need to happen at once. So I'm, as an architect, a big fan of kind of solving your biggest challenge is a way of introducing your kind of biggest design feature. For us, it's getting people to the top of that deck. And we found this to be a very inventive solution. This is a building in Europe where it was being renovated, and rather than sit dormant, they developed this very temporary stair that brought people to the top, made a little park at the top, and really activated that part of the city that would have normally been quite quiet. The other element that we have that is really the main feature is that huge deck, which is right now kind of quiet, not very interesting, but for, again, this shows some very low-cost solutions to really activate that surface. The one in the top right is simply asphalt with highway paint, but something like that dramatically changes the perception of space and becomes kind of the thing that ties everything together. And the idea of adding some verticality through kind of lightweight structures that could be illuminated to, again, give what's up there more presence from the street. And you've heard a lot about shipping containers being used these days for a whole variety of things. This very much checks the boxes that we identified as something lightweight, flexible, unique, kind of inventive. And then another key we heard was this thing to be lively all the way through the year, so the idea of having seasonal structures that pop up. And the benefit we have is we have this huge deck that offers places to store these structures when they're not in use, and they can easily come out in the wintertime and make it a really dynamic place. And then just a variety of other features and activities, again, that don't cost a lot of money in terms of architecture or infrastructure, but just programs that could really activate the project. So here it is. This is kind of a view from the air. Vince, jump to the next one, because you start to see some of the slides that I just kind of went through. Let's go from right to left. The thing on the right is this big kind of cool feature ramp that comes off of Saginaw Street, morphs, kind of winds its way up to the top of the deck, makes that a real kind of strong event. Again, is a very kind of just could be a temporary low-cost structure that brings you up. Then the next one, again, it just shows kind of how dynamic kind of the underbelly of that deck could be. Then the idea of shipping container type structures that could surround the deck, definitely be kind of in front of it, that could house retail. Interesting thing about those is they can open up during the day if they wanted to. If they wanted to shut down, they can shut down and lock themselves up. So lots of opportunity. And then the idea of these lightweight illuminated structures. As you know, there's a section of the deck as it goes over Orchard Lake that you cut a hole there, all of a sudden I can see up from that Orchard Lake Drive, and it becomes kind of a feature that really starts to sell the deck. And then again, the idea of covering the top of the deck with a very graphic kind of patterning that really animates it and pulls everything together. And again, a view kind of walking from Saginaw Street up that ramp. We just think that could be a real kind of eventful experience. You know, I come to the Phoenix Center for an event, and then I come down into the city, have drinks, go to dinner. And then there's obviously 10 ways to do that ramp that shows kind of a curvy way to do it. Next one. And here we're now up on the deck. Again, the idea of that big pattern, structures that show up, gardens up there, it, again, could be a real magical place. And then I think it'll really come to life at night. The idea of internally illuminated, that tensile structure that's up there, feature lighting, again, it could be an incredible place. Again, kind of the view marching up there in the evening. Next one, I think there's one more. And there, the kind of view of from the air at night. So, again, I think what's important about this project is really leveraging what is unique about it. That's what will make this a true success. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any questions? None? All right. Wonder what-
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm
Mayor?
sorry. I like what you're doing with the ramp walking up, but where's the railings up there? Because you do have people that are going to be, one, afraid of heights, two, possibly have struggles with mobility. Do you have an elevator in that?
Yes, well, there is an elevator. And one thing you should know about that ramp, while there will be railings on the side, the reason for the double back kind of nature of that ramp is we made it at a 1 in 20 slope, which is a slope that by code doesn't require any handrails or additional railings because it is so gentle that is thought to, even in a wheelchair, it's easy to navigate.
But when you're standing at the top and
Yes.
you're looking at going down,
Yes,
you ain't looking at a slope, you're looking at the difference in the height.
yes.
So that's not, that elevator that we have at the Phoenix Plaza, I mean, I don't know if any of you have ridden that back in the 80s, but that's the scariest thing I ever seen.
Well, I would tell you that that would be, you know, if we're going to spend the money on kind of some of what you saw, that would be probably the highest priority, to get really functioning elevators into that deck.
Because we just, you know, I like it, like I said, I
Yep.
like it, but I'm looking at the whole picture.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
totally get it.
Yes,
Question, council members?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. All right.
I have a
Lori.
question for one of you gentlemen who would like to answer. My concern is, where would the parking be? Where will we use for parking?
Okay, with the renovation of the parking deck, you know, creating the infrastructure to go ahead and develop the plaza and the areas around it,
Okay.
you know, there will be spaces available there, and also the possibility of generating revenue, you know, through the
Parking
the
deck?
admission for those spaces.
Okay.
Good. I'm assuming that there's a reduction in
Yes.
parking places.
And also, one other question. Now, of course, this is just what it would look like, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and if we're going to put a dollar figure on it, what we looking at?
We have not done any estimates or budgets. The idea, though, was to create, say, the infrastructure through the renovation of the deck that would allow these other items to be done. The striping, as Jack had indicated, can be done very inexpensively. The containers, it would be hoped then, by developing the deck, that private individuals would come and, say, be able to lease space to put their containers in and help create that public-private partnership that we have heard mentioned, so.
But currently, with the meeting that I met with you guys, and I really appreciate you, what was more than that, seems like it's been a month or so now, time's really flying.
It does.
And my only concern was, you know, of course, for the citizen, price, $6 million, say, to put it up to code. Now, we're talking about electrical, because when I go underneath the Phoenix Center right now, I'm scared. My lights automatically just comes on. It's so dark under there.
I go
So we
under
got
it,
other
and I have
big,
a problem with it.
not to take away from you guys, but we got real big issues. Electrical, plumbing, and I'm reading the contracts tonight, and got a ways to go.
Yes, and those are included in the reports that would be part of the restoration of the
Right.
parking deck. You know, that work that we would like to be able to get moving forward on, that will create the safe environment to be able to get started and do these other things.
Right.
Have the capacity for the electrical, the lighting, and the elevators.
Reason I say that, at one point I could be, dream big, but we got to be sensible. We got to have safety first, and I'm really concerned about the lighting underneath that Phoenix Center right now. But thank you, appreciate you.
I guess I have one little question left. I mean, I was going through this other report. Does anyone have any figures from that Walker report?
Yes?
I'd like to have a copy of it, because it was,
Written copy.
yes, because there's only a couple of notes. There's nothing substantial from it. I also need a comparison from the Desmond report, the first and second one. Somebody should have done it already.
Okay.
Since it was involved in the original lawsuit, and if the things were done in the original Desmond and Eagle lawsuit, then they should be also in this package so we can compare, because I believe the Desmond report had a dollar figure, what it took to do the repair of the building, and I believe those, majority of those were already done with the former owner. So I'd like to find out what the former owner did before we decided that we was going to have the demolition, because there still should be $8 million available to go along with this project. I'm just saying, the Desmond Report 1 and 2, because I did bring a copy in because of just one, that there were some errors that caused the legal lawsuit. I'd just like to make sure that the Desmond Report 1 and 2, along with the Walker Report, has the dollar figures on where the Phoenix Center is now, before we expound onto this, because that includes the elevators, that includes the structural, the gutters, and many other things. But I haven't seen a figure for those yet. But I don't think it comes up to $8 million.
Okay. Councilman Carter?
Yes.
It's very important, and I believe your director of the DPW has provided a summary of those reports for the cost to be able to bring the deck up so it could be used, take care of the electrical, the plumbing, and those pieces.
It was. The reason I'm referring to it is that in the beginning, what was already done. I'm just saying, if I had a checklist for the Desmond report that said these were already done, already repaired, then I would just like to see them. I guess I'll just have to ask John for that.
Okay. But we as a team all understand that those things and those reports need to be completed before these items could be done.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Pro Tem?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Yes, there are several structural engineering reports that were done. The one that is most important for what we're doing right now, that Auch is basing their studies on, is the one that was done after the settlement was signed, and then we were, as part of the negotiation, went ahead and did another structural engineering report, and that's what their studies are based upon, and that's what we're moving forward on. But it's exciting to see what they have presented here. And this is, nothing is carved in stone here. This is just an imaging of processing of what can happen. And I want to let people know that we've made a mobile display out of these same renderings. They're in the lobby right now, and we can take them around to various groups. We've taken them to some district committees and some other groups. So if you would like to have a chance to have a personal view in your group, that's what we're doing now, to tell people that this process can be started in the city. Auch is more than ready to go. The ball's in council's court right now. Council has to decide just which of the financing options that have been presented that they're going to choose from. We do have some deadline dates, and I think that's in the report that you're talking about right there, Pro Tem. But to help with that, we just wanted to get the conversation started this evening again. But next week, we plan to present for you special presentations on the feasibility, because now we have several other capital projects that are on the table. And the finance director is going to prepare feasibility studies for each one of those, because we have to spend our money wisely, as people said, and to make sure that all these things that we want to be fulfilled certainly fit in with an overall financial picture. So we thank Auch for presenting that. We thank the other gentlemen
Thank
who
you,
were
Mayor.
here. to present for us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, guys, I don't want to see anything more than what it costs for the lawsuit. Okay. Number 5, the ordinance, the adoption of ordinance to allow redevelopment liquor license and conditions of issuance and operation